we're now in the point of figuring out those final pieces. Which final pieces make most sense for the Phillies? Which guys are going to be ready come the start of the season? And I know it was mentioned in the chat around Taijuan Walker. Well, let's talk about Taijuan Walker because today's takeaways are presented by Factor. You can use code Phillies50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life with any active subscription at factormeals.com/Phillies50. Taijuan Walker continues to be one of the keys that we are watching because the Phillies, as we've talked about, as even Todd Zalecki pointed out, have potential to be the top rotation, one of the top rotations across Major League Baseball. And the biggest question mark is Taijuan Walker. Ranger Suarez, 0 runs given up so far in spring training. Been fantastic. Obviously, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler looking great. We've got the starting lineup for the kickoff of the season, opening day with Wheeler, then Nola, then Ranger. Christopher Sanchez has been looking good. You know, everybody in the starting pitching rotation looks great. Then there's Taijuan Walker, who, as we know, had been dealing with not only knee soreness, but also some personal issues that caused him to miss a stretch of spring training. So he, in that sense, missed some time, is behind. And he's saying now he's feeling good. His body's feeling much better. He feels like his body is moving very good, very athletic right now, moving quick. He's been really busting his butt, working hard. But when you look at the performance that Taijuan Walker has had as recently as yesterday in that Wednesday game, it's very much concerning, to say the very least. So in the game Wednesday, Walker allowed five hits, 7 runs, 3 walks, 3 home runs in 2 2/3 innings against Baltimore. Struck out 1. His fastball was around 89 to 92 miles per hour. And we saw earlier in spring training about a week ago, his fastball was around the 88 to 90 mile per hour range. Has not been a great showing for Taijuan Walker so far. And I know it's been the question, is Taijuan Walker the final piece for this rotation, or should the Phillies have gone out and got somebody like Jordan Montgomery? Of course, we heard the details of Blake Snell's offers. There have been names out there that the Phillies could have brought in, but they trusted and have been, adamantly saying they trust this 5, they trust this group. But Taijuan Walker doesn't seem like he's going to be ready, at the very least, to start off the season because he's definitely been struggling in his return back to spring training, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, he had the knee injury. He had the sickness, so he's way behind schedule. I'm going to try not to read too much into it. The velocity is certainly concerning here. You were, in reality, not going to go into the season without that 5. Like that, I feel like that was pretty locked. Unless Jordan Montgomery all of a sudden goes for like a 1-year and sub $25 million deal and just wants to go to a competitor. There's no changes there. I mean, he's here for 3 more years, and it was $72 million for 4. So what's that a year? Like 18.5, something like that? 18 on the nose.
Yeah, I think it's 18 because 18 times 2, 36. 36 times 2.
That's quick
72.
math by you. I wasn't trying to do math today, so.
I was terrible at math until it came to contracts, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, 14 and a half
that
million.
makes sense. Why don't you just
do it?
Why didn't you teach me math in terms of sports
Do it in
contracts?
everybody's Well, that was the thing I always used to tell people. Like the first, when you were doing your multiplication when you were a kid, the first one I nailed down was 7 because it was touchdowns. It was easy, right?
Yeah.
Like it was.
First one I nailed was 9 because you could do the trick with your fingers.
That makes sense.
But yeah, he wasn't going anywhere. You just got to hope he rights the ship. If we're bitching about the 9-hole hitter on the Phillies and the 5th starter in the rotation, that means we have a pretty good situation. I know he's paid more, but in all likelihood, Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez. Well, Ranger definitely. Christopher Sanchez has to prove it, but they're both probably better than him. He's behind. I don't think he makes his first scheduled start. That's why this active 26-man roster will be interesting. Because, I think Rojas is safe, but then you got to look at Spencer Turnbull. Does he accept his Lehigh demotion more or less because he has 5 years of service, or do you start him on the 26-man and maybe give Taijuan a little more time to turn the corner? I mean, yesterday was only his 2nd official start of spring. Right. So I'm trying not to read too much into it, but the velocity certainly is concerning. He should be even second start or not, he's been in camp several weeks. He should be closer to that 92, 93 by now than 89. So we'll keep an eye on it. But he's an innings eater, and it's a valuable role on this team. He's just got to – he doesn't have to be great. He just has to be serviceable because most other fives he's going to go against are going to suck. Yeah,
exactly. He is expected to have one more Grapefruit League start before the season begins. That is on Monday that we're supposed to see Taijuan Walker again. And as you mentioned, Jamie, he is still working back. I think it's hard because we look at last year's numbers and, although he was the first pitcher across the league to get to 15 wins, you look at last year's numbers and that 4.38 ERA in his 31 starts. And there were times that Taijuan Walker, you couldn't even put him out there come the postseason, for example, where it didn't work to have a time to use him. But Rob Thompson did mention, he's trying to find it. Hopefully he does in the next week or two. He's, Rob's always given the optimism. Taijuan was also saying, he's getting there. It's just taking a little bit slower than he would have liked. Tyler, you've got some numbers for us. What do you got?
I think the one thing that we need to take a look at is the velocity for Taijuan Walker has dipped each of the last 3 seasons now. 2021, his fastball was at 94.5 on average. 22 was 93.7. 2023 was 92.8. And to the point where I think Taijuan Walker's at a crossroads where he kind of needs to, I don't want to say reinvent himself a little bit, but you saw last year was the first year of his career that he threw his sinker more than he did his four-seam fastball. He threw his sinker 664 times. He threw his four-seam 493 times. And that's the first time over the course of his career that he's ever done that. He's mostly a sinker-splitter pitcher. 1,500, almost 1,600 pitches between those two pitches. And then it's cutter 3 and fastball 4, which over the course of his career has actually been almost inverse, where 2022, 21, 20, 19, 18, you get the point. It's the whole entirety of his career. His four-seam fastball was his primary pitch. Now all of a sudden he's more sinker splitter because he realizes that velo has dipped a little bit. And so to me, the velo being down compared to previous years is not a problem. The velo being down compared to last year is the problem. Because if he's going to sit mid 91, 92, that's okay. If he's sitting 88, 89, you've got a problem.
Oh, he's going to get rocked.
Yeah, you've got a problem.
After seeing him up close in person, doesn't it look like he should throw harder?
He's jacked. He's like weirdly, it doesn't like.
I mean, it's like, I know the joke is the ideal male body, but like his was kind of like the ideal male body.
And you don't really see that on TV as much.
6'3", skinny waist, like big legs, like the dude
pigeon-toed and everything. Like he's got like
I'm surprised his career velocity isn't a little bit higher.
So it was when he started.
94.
I mean, in the beginning, towards the beginning portion of his career, he was throwing a little bit harder. But even last year, like if you go through to the run value per pitch, he was at a 5 for both his splitter and his sinker, which is not bad. It's above average for sure. But the four-seam fastball was a -5 last season, which is the first time, I guess, in his career that he's hit a -5 on any one of his pitches. To counter that, 2017, his first year in the bigs, or his first year that they counted this run value based on Baseball Savant, he had a 10. So he's dropped over the course of 6 years from a 10 to a -5. The fastball has lost its touch. And that is what it is. He needs to be able to utilize sinker splitter, not just like he did last year, but a little bit more effectively, I think, to be successful.
Yeah. Well, coming into spring training, one of the things that Taijuan Walker wanted to work on was the consistency of his fastball, as you actually were alluding to, Tyler, because it has dipped off. Unfortunately, it hasn't been able to do so because of the injury and missing time. So hopefully he'll be able to get that, the velocity of his fastball to be more steady and have less fluctuation. That was a big reason why he was unable to pitch in the postseason at all last year, because you just don't know what you're going to get from Taijuan Walker day to day. So we'll also hope on that one because, as we know, it doesn't seem as if Taijuan Walker is going anywhere. And hopefully with time, he'll be able to get an opportunity to continue to work on his pitch, continue to work to get better, and be able to hopefully start the season off the right way whenever he hits the mound.